and we're going to go ahead and get started. Right now, we have everyone's microphones muted, and that's just to cut down on background noise. But we will have a couple opportunities during today's session where we would like to hear from you, be it questions, comments, ideas on activities or things that you have done to help foster a welcoming and engaging classroom environment. So we encourage you to speak up during those opportunities, and you can also type your comments or questions into the question box that is available to you on your control panel, which most likely is on the right-hand side of your screen. You can type that in, and that will come to myself and Kathy Schick, my colleague from Meter, who is also online with us today, and we will address those. You can also use that if you're having any technical challenges. Let us know about that. And also, if you would like to raise your hand, that will also let us know that you have a question or something that you would like to share. So please feel free to make use of all those tools. At this point, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, typed in your name and just let us know that you're here in the question box. Please go ahead and do that. And most importantly, if there's someone with you, if you're sharing a connection with a colleague or two, please make sure you type everyone's names in there so that we can give everyone credit for joining us for our session today. Looks like most people are finding that. That's good to see. So thank you for doing that. So the topic for today's session is exploring the classroom environment. Our title is Start Strong, Stay Strong. And you see this cartoon here that Kathy discovered for us, which, hopefully doesn't describe the situation taking place in your classroom at the moment, but certainly I know we've all had moments where that's what it feels like. So what we'll be sharing with you today and hopefully hearing from you are some thoughts, some suggestions on ways to keep students engaged, help them feel like they're an important part of the learning process, and really share some tools and strategies for making sure that the strong start to the school year stays strong. Kathy is going to be doing most of our presentation today, and she will be sharing some of her thoughts as well as some materials and resources that were prepared for us by Tracy Stetler, who is the reading coach, the literacy coach at Reading Muhlenberg Career and Tech Center. Tracy has been with us on a couple of our sessions, but unfortunately had a conflict with today. So she was generous enough to let us use her materials, and Kathy will be going through those with you in just a few moments. So as I mentioned, my name is Jennifer Grams. I'm with Meter Consulting, joined by Kathy Schick. Kathy has most recently been working as a literacy coach at the Lehigh Career and Tech Institute, LCTI. She's currently on leave from that position, and we've had the great fortune of having her join us on our Meter team. And so she will be, as I mentioned, sharing with you examples and information from her personal experience as well as information that Tracy Stetler shared with us. So it should be a really rich program, and we're interested to hear from you as well. We want to make this as interactive and informal as we can in sort of this virtual technical world. Speaking of technical, I'm just going to take a second to look at the question box to see if there are any comments or technical questions that have come up. I see a note from, go ahead, Kathy.
There is a hand up. Tamara has her hand up. Should I unmute her, Jennifer?
Sure, go ahead, please.
Okay, Tamara, I'm not sure if you know it or not, but your hand is up. Can you let us know if you need something? Or if you have a question, you're unmuted.
Oh, she said, sorry, I will put it down. So, okay. On our
Okay.
earlier session today, the hand icon was going a little bit wacky and hands were popping up. So we weren't quite sure why that was happening. So if we do call on you and you didn't intend to raise your hand, just let us know. Eric put in a note that the audio is fading in and out. Is that something that you're experiencing, Kathy, or is anyone else experiencing that?
I am not. If anyone else is experiencing that, would you type in fading in and out, or just I'm fading, or me too, or something? Then we'll know if it's Eric's end or our end.
And I will say it could very well be my.
Shane, I'm sorry, Shane said yes. We have quite a few that. Okay, in case no one, in one case it seemed like you were talking quietly. We have a mix of both. It might be because Jennifer and I are both not muted, so I'm going to go ahead and mute Jennifer. I'm going to mute myself, Jennifer. So see if that helps.
Okay, and it could very well be my internet connection as well. So I think what I will do while Kathy is presenting is to call back in on my phone with hopes of having a better audio connection on my end. So thank you for letting us know. And similarly, if anyone else has any concerns, technical or otherwise, feel free to type that into the question box. We appreciate that. Sometimes it's things outside of our control, but to the extent that we can improve our tools here, we'll do what we can. So a quick overview of today's session. Dr. Burkett, the Director of CTE at the Pennsylvania Department of Ed, has asked us to get some feedback from members of all of our PLCs about the upcoming PAC Tech Conference. So we will spend a few minutes getting your thoughts on that. And then the bulk of our time today will be spent actually talking about the examples and ideas that we have pulled together related to classroom environment and management. We'll finish up with some quick information about a follow-up activity and any questions and answers that you might have. So in terms of the PAC Tech Conference, hopefully many of you have had the opportunity to attend this in the past. This is coming up in June. It's a ways off, but the organizers are currently planning for the conference and the sessions. So Dr. Burkett asked us to ask each of the PLC groups if there are any specific types of sessions that you would like to attend. Ideally, the sessions related to a particular technique, a new tool, something that is coming on the market that you would like to learn about from the manufacturer, or perhaps a new textbook or curriculum. Please take a minute or two, and if you have any thoughts on that, type those into the question box. You can also, if you think of something during the session today, please share that with us so that we can then take that feedback back to the organizers of the conference. They want to make sure that the content that's being delivered is definitely in line with what everyone wants to hear about. I think they're planning to do some specific sessions for various program areas. And we'll remind you throughout the session today about that. So without further ado, I would like to turn the presentation over to Kathy. I'll work on fixing my audio issues on my end. And if anyone has questions or comments throughout Kathy's presentation, please raise your hand or type them into the question box. I will be monitoring those and sharing those back with us. Kathy, I'll go ahead and turn the presentation over to you.
Okay, thank you. And Jennifer and I are in different locations, different states, in fact. So if you were having some audio problems, it may be different now that I'm speaking. Let's see. I'm going to just take a moment. When I multitask, very, very bad things happen. So I'm just going to take a moment to switch to my screen. If you'll just give me a moment to do that. I am being very careful because I had a bad experience with the commercial arts group where I ended the webinar abruptly. So if that would happen, if you hear a female robot voice say, the organizer has ended the session, please just call back in, and I apologize in advance. Okay, Jennifer, I'm going to assume you can see my screen. Let me know if you can't.
I can, thank you. And just before you jump in, Kathy, could I offer one additional suggestion? Michael Bell typed in that something that has helped is that he closed all of his other applications and windows that were running while he's been listening into the webinar, and that seems to have helped a bit as well. So just another thought on anyone who's having audio challenges.
Good, good. Thanks for that. That is a good tip. We'll remember that for anyone else. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I am Kathy Schick, and as Jennifer said, I am an instructional coach. My background is I actually started teaching kindergarten, so I've done everything from kindergarten to high school, including lovely middle school where I was an ESL teacher. I am a reading specialist, and that's what brought me to be an instructional coach. Started as a literacy coach at Lehigh, LCTI, and I, for personal reasons, chose to step back from full-time work this year and was lucky enough to connect with the Meter Consulting Group. So I'm having a lot of fun, still keeping my finger in the education world and also doing some other things that needed to get done. So today we're going to talk about routines and procedures, and I titled this Start Strong, Stay Strong because I've been in education over 20 years. I know, as you do, that we always seem to get off to a strong start with our routines and our procedures, and then sometimes as the year goes on, we are just so busy and everything is hitting us at once, and we just don't always reflect on what's working, what might not be working. And so this is sort of an opportunity for us to pull together and share some ideas and also maybe remotivate one another to take a look at how things are going at this point in the school year. I have a quote I'd like to share. It's by Harry Wong. You know that Harry Wong and his wife are very involved in classroom management, and not everyone agrees with his philosophy, but I thought this quote was quite good for a start for us. Contrary to what many people believe, the #1 problem in the classroom is not discipline. It is the lack of procedures and routines. Classroom management has nothing to do with discipline. Behavior will rarely become a problem when effective teacher is already taking place. On the first day of school, you can begin teaching the procedures and routines that you will use. Never assume that you will have time to tackle bad behavior later. So start those routines in a way that nip that in the bud. Becoming an effective teacher depends on classroom management, especially on the first day of school. Now, having said that, again, I've been in education a long time. My husband is about to complete his 30th year of being a teacher, and we know that you can be at the top of your game and still have those students that may throw your routines and procedures out the window. So yes, there are always those exceptions to the rule, but we know that routines and procedures are critical for student learning to take place, not to mention for our own sanity. I was going to do a quick poll that would relate to that quote, and then this afternoon I just got my mood changed, and I thought, my goodness, we're not going to be talking to you again until January, so you being the culinary group, we need to have a little more fun with our poll than classroom management. So how about this? I would like to know the best way to cook a turkey. Wow, somebody hit, boy, you guys, right to the deep fry. So go ahead, let me hear it.
Kathy, you don't have grill on here.
Yeah, I had that with, I don't know how to say the word rostier. I don't think I say that correctly. So if someone wants to be unmuted and tell me how to pronounce that, but I had that with that.
Patricia is asking stuffed or unstuffed?
Either way, use your imagination with that one. Shane, I'm going to unmute you. Shane, are you raising your hand to tell me how to pronounce that word?
I believe the word you're looking for is rotisserie.
Oh, rotisserie, that's right. That's how I say it at the grocery store when I order my chicken. I don't know why I was looking at that differently. That's what happens in public speaking. Things don't make sense. Thank you, Shane.
You're welcome.
I called a friend. It was Shane. Okay, well, we've only got 67%. Let's see if we can get up to 70%, and then I'll share the results. I wonder if you all will be surprised by the results. I am a little surprised. Oh, we're at 73%. So I'm going to close the poll, and I'm going to share the results. And boy, we've got a lot of traditionalists. I read that if you keep opening your oven to baste your turkey, it will not cook. You shouldn't. You should put it in a bag and don't baste it. And look, not one expert said that was true. Well, thank you. I was also going to ask you how many of you, being in the culinary arts field, are expected by every family member to do all of the cooking for Thanksgiving, but I didn't want to start any hard conversations about our families and in-laws, right? So we'll keep going. Thanks for participating in that. Okay, so I'm using a lot of slides that Tracy Stetler from Reading-Muhlenberg put together for this. As Jennifer said, Tracy was going to be with us and couldn't. And oh, my good friend Sharon Maletsky and my colleague from LCTI was just able to log on. And Sharon, I thought maybe you weren't here today because of your great news. Please just type in if I'm allowed to share your great news. All right, so this is a daily summary routine that one of Tracy's teachers uses. We're going to talk for the next few minutes about academic routines, things that help you build structure and routines and procedures, but at the same time are contributing to academic work and academic achievement. So this is one that the teacher uses as a weekly log or journal, and you'll notice under each day of the week the verb is different. So for example, on Tuesday it says explain, and on Wednesday it says analyze, so changing it up a little bit. I know some of you use logs and journals, and we're going to ask you to share by typing in very shortly an academic routine that you use. This is another from Reading-Muhlenberg that a teacher shared. This is a journal entry sheet that is focuses on using a word of the day. One thing I like about this one is the center box gives an opportunity for the student to draw an illustration or a sketch of the word of the day, and we know through research that that is very important cognitively when we give students the opportunity to make what's officially called a non-linguistic representation of a word or a concept. They're more likely to understand it and remember it.
Kathy, this is Jennifer. May I interrupt for just a second? We had
Sure.
someone ask if they could have copies of the slides, and yes, I apologize for not mentioning that sooner. We will be sharing with you this complete presentation via email as a follow-up to our session today. So you will have copies of everything that's being shown today. And as an aside, Sharon replied, sure.
Sharon, for those who know Sharon Maletsky from LCTI, who is a dear friend of mine and whose food my son is very upset that he's not receiving her baked goods this year because I'm not there. But Sharon became a grandmother for the first time. So congratulations to Sharon. That is going to be the luckiest little baby in the world. Trust me.
Congratulations.
Yeah, very excited for her. I hope I get to see him. Okay, so going back to our topic, this is another of Reading-Muhlenberg's a teacher. This is the front, and I'm going to click through to the next page. This is a weekly booklet that a packet that the students get, and it builds a routine of a word of the day, a math problem each day, some writing, and some explanation, as you'll see on the last statement here, explain the operating principles of a 4-stroke engine. Tracy shared with us that her school has closed circuit TVs. I believe that's what it's called, the ability for, every classroom has a TV and the school can show their announcements and things like that to every classroom simultaneously. And Tracy's responsible for every day making a word of the day that the whole school sees. Great routine for building academic vocabulary, which we know at LCTI we have a high population of second language learners, and we know that through research that it's not always that students don't understand the answer to the question. It's often that they don't understand the language used in the question, and therefore they can't unlock the question to answer it. So they might know how to do what the question is actually asking, but because they don't know the word allocate, they don't really know what the question is asking. So in addition to our technical vocabulary, using academic vocabulary is a great opportunity to extend kids' reading comprehension and speaking comprehension. The math coach at Reading, Lisa Hughes, she also posts once a week, I guess it's on for the whole week, a math question, and that's a routine that is built in each classroom, that they spend some time working through the question, and then at the end of the week the question is answered. Some teachers also use illustrations and photographs to have a tool of the week or a piece of equipment of the week. This is one that was taken from Reading-Muhlenberg. Oh, there's my there's my rotisserie chicken, right? How's that? Did I sound like I know how to know my way around the kitchen? So using something like this and then posting, what is it used for, and kids can do a quick write or a quick share as a daily routine. Here's some other examples of photographs that are used in Culinary to build some of those daily questions. And I wanted to just make sure, I know this may seem simple, but sometimes it's those simple things that elude us, like how to pronounce a word, which I proved to you today. Do you know about Google Images? If you do not know how to use Google Images, would you just raise your hand? That's the little icon of the hand. If you do not know, not sure. Okay, at the end of the session, I'll just do a quick, I'll remind, there were a few of you, so I'll talk about that, because it's just a great way to get photographs quickly for things like this. We know that teachers are using Nocti Monday and other routines for Nocti review. This is one from Culinary. Again, establishing habits and routines that build academics. I'd like you to take a moment and type in, I think a few already have, but Jennifer is going to walk us through some of the things that you are able to share. What is an academic routine that you implement and use with fidelity that could be briefly explained? Oh, we have an ESL teacher out there, Shane. Bix and Calp. You got it.
We have a couple notes about using tablets or iPads in the classroom and in the shop. Shane says that he's currently using Microsoft Surfaces RT in his classroom. They just received them and they'll be using them for a lot of different activities, but he's not quite comfortable bringing them out into the shop yet for recipe guides. Christine added that she would love to have a computer in the kitchen or a few iPads for the kids to watch videos of missed assignments. Let's see. Shane also offered that every day his students complete minute math assignment at the start of each day.
Keep an eye out for grants for iPads and for those smaller grants. I mean, the iPad prices are coming down, and the what's the tablet that is it a Google tablet that's less expensive than the iPad, but there's another tablet out there that people seem to be using.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jennifer. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Let's see. Heidi wrote that she uses Culinary magazines and picks articles for review that they summarize and discuss to support reading, writing, and communication. Gary wrote that he does daily reading or his students do daily reading while he's doing attendance and assignments. Ooh, the ideas are just rolling in. Let me try to keep up here. Eric wrote that he uses note cards for important information and then has the kids ask each other the questions and also bring them home to go over with family and friends.
Can I stop there for 1 second?
Sure.
This may not surprise many of you, but what surprises me is that there's research to back it up. There was research done, it was published just this year about the best tools for studying. And I have two of my own teenagers, and both of them always used index cards to make their own flashcards. And that seemed so basic to me. You would just think in this world of high technology, and that was actually one of the most effective study tools, is not to use someone else's note cards, but like a published note card, but to create your own flashcards and use them. So there you go.
Great. I remember doing that as well. So sometimes the old-fashioned ways are just as effective, if not more. Let's see, a couple more suggestions. Dennis wrote that he gives students a trade-related article to read and do a report on. That's something they do every week. Michael added, he says, we ask the students as they transition from classroom to the kitchen, they ask them a safe serve or a NOCTI question that they must enter or answer correctly before they are allowed to continue in the kitchen. Sounds like some other folks are getting iPads soon. Words of the day, math problems. Kelly has an interesting idea. She says, I have students use the classroom iPad to take a video of themselves doing a certain cooking task, and then they watch it back and do a self-critique. Sharon says that they have electronic flashcards that were included with their textbook. Shane added that every Thursday he does a food in the news article review, a current events sort of assignment where students read the article and then answer guided questions to check for understanding and comprehension and then formulate opinions. Gary wrote in that he has the Pro Chef email subscription service readings. So a nice mixture of activities there.
Does everyone know about Pro Chef email subscription? I never heard of that, so I just wondered if that's, not that I would have, but I just wanted to make sure. If anybody wants Gary to share more about that, just type in your question. Okay. What texts are instructors using? Someone wants to know. Yeah, if you want to type in the textbook you're using, or what text besides the magazine articles and current events, we'll share some of that out, or we'll put it in the email follow-up. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to your learning environment, and again, we have some thoughts. I know a lot of this you've already paid attention to when the year got started, but let's see if we can trigger a few new ideas for you or for your peers, and also maybe just sort of get that shot in the arm you need to just go back and revisit what's working and what's not. First, to talk about materials. We know the kind of student we're working with today. They are used to high-tech, new, cutting-edge. So we want to make sure that the materials we're using are as fresh and current as possible. Love that so many of you are using current event articles. I think that is absolutely the way to go. You can build content awareness and knowledge along with cultural knowledge along with reading and writing skills. So I love that. So someone just asked about what text you're using. If you type that in, we'll share that with you for what materials you're using. How is my lab set up? For your labs, at least from what I know of a culinary lab, much of that equipment you can't move. But think about how your lab is set up with what you can control. Do you have good sight lines of what you can see and you have accessibility to? Can the students move around readily and easily? Is it too cluttered? Is it visually overwhelming? Or is it just right? Is it organized? Is it representative of a workforce kitchen and setting? Are you looking at how you're grouping students, how you're seating students? Are you using tools like color coding your materials or your file folders that kids have access to? Are you keeping things organized? How are students grouped? Are you changing up the groups, or are you always letting students pick their groups? Same with seating. We talked a little bit with the health group this morning about color coding. One teacher uses a different color paper for every marking period for her handouts. So all of the handouts that she gives in the first marking period are gold. And then all of the handouts she gives the next marking period might be on yellow or green paper. And that way students immediately know how, where that came in the order of the school year as well as the teacher. Are your bulletin boards getting dust on them by June, or are they changing? Are they in response to what you want students to know? Are they motivational? Are they attractive? Are they appropriate? and word walls, that's something that can really make your environment engaging, in that you can use that word wall to springboard activities. So I've seen a lot of word walls that are stapled or thumbtacked into a cork board, but whenever possible, my suggestion is put a word wall together that you can use magnets on the back, those self-adhesive magnet strips, so that you can move your words around easily, so that you can pull some words off of the word wall and put them in the center of your whiteboard for the day's lesson. So you can have kids go to the word wall and select words based on what you're instructing them to do. One teacher in our school, Pat Maley, did not have a place for a word wall, and he got creative with using a very large floor-to-ceiling window and dry erase markers. And he would write the words on, wasn't able to use magnets, but would write the words on, and kids could erase and move those around. Is your environment engaging for students in that they have mentors, or they are a mentor, or they have responsibilities and input? Do you develop your rules together? Do you develop things like safety posters together when you see a need for one? Are kids involved in their learning environment, in creating their learning environment? In addition to the physical learning environment, let's talk for a moment about engaging students intellectually. What kind of rigor are you putting out there? Is your level of questions and your level of conversation, is it rigorous? Or are you doing too many rhetorical questions, answering your own questions, or quite frankly, too much lecturing, which we all have to fight against, I'm convinced. This is just such a struggle for us as teachers. We're enthusiastic about what we want to talk about, and we just keep talking. Now I say that, and I just keep talking. That's what makes webinars difficult. I can't unmute all of you. We wouldn't hear anything, so I apologize. I am doing too much of the talking. And that brings me to my second bullet. Really start reflecting for the next few weeks. Do students talk and do more than you do, or are you doing most of the work? Great book. Sharon might remember this. Never work harder than your students. And it's really about the notion that your job is to prepare outside of that classroom, but once kids are in front of you, they should be doing most of the work, not you. So we can look at things like using techniques like think, pair, share, so that during a presentation, when you see the kids are getting a little antsy, remind yourself to stop, give them the floor, tell them, I'm going to give you, I want 15 seconds of complete silence, and I want you to think about this statement, or I want you to think about this fact, or I want you to think about this demonstration that I just did. Think about it quietly. Now I want you to turn to your right elbow partner, and I want you to talk, and then I want you to listen. Sometimes we can ask kids to write first, and then pair and share. It is such a simple technique, but it's even listed on those lists of research-proven practices. This is effective because we want to be heard, and when we talk, we remember better, and we actually learn more from explaining something. A pinch card, I used this at Penn State, you may remember, but I simply had you make your own. A pinch card is a way to get students involved and engaged during a presentation. So if you look at the far right-hand side, you'll see the card that is A, B, C, D, and a thumbs up and a thumbs down. I don't make these cards and have them printed. When I do workshops, I simply ask people, whether they're students or teachers, to take a piece of scrap paper or take the handout that I've given them, and on the back, I tell them to fold it lengthwise to give it a little more support, and on the back I say, write down A, B, C, or D. Or I might say, just write down yes at the top and no at the bottom. And then I ask some questions throughout the presentation, and every now and then to spark engagement, to keep everyone with me and awake, I say, do you agree with that? Pinch yes or pinch no and hold it up. So they're holding that up over their head and they're pinching their response. And if I see, wow, there is a 50-50 split, then I say to the group, it's time to stop and discuss this because you're really split on this. Or if I use it as formative assessment and say, can I go on? Does everyone understand what I just went through? I can stop and reteach. So that's a way to get kids very quickly to let them share their input. Some teachers for that purpose use small whiteboards that they purchase. Another idea is to, if you cannot afford or don't have access to small whiteboards, you can take a piece of white cardstock, put it in a protective sleeve. Do you remember those protective sleeves that you can buy to go in notebooks, 3-ring binders? You can get actually more, you can get cheaper ones or you can get durable ones. But put a white cardstock in a protective sleeve, give that to a student with a dry erase marker, and they have an instant whiteboard. Now this morning someone told us she found out that students can use dry erase markers on the desk and can erase that. So that may have some possibilities, although that wouldn't be something they could hold up and show to you. Can I keep going, Jennifer? I feel like I'm rambling.
You're not rambling, but we do have a couple comments maybe I could share, or a couple folks have typed in some ideas. Okay, I'd like to try to unmute Shane. He had an interesting example related to learning environment, something that he did this year. Let's see, let me find you on the list here. Shane, I have unmuted you. If you could go ahead and test out your microphone.
Hello?
Hi.
Work?
Yes, it sounds good. Could you describe to the group what you shared about your learning environment and your labeling?
Sure. As a first-year teacher, I came on and all the refrigerators or reach-in refrigerators or walk-ins had kind of nicknames of what they called them in the past. And this was confusing to me and to new students who weren't really familiar with those nicknames. So I printed out large vinyl letters, or numbers rather, and put them on all the fridge doors, so that way instead of calling it, the reach-in, I can call it fridge number 1, and if they need to go into the walk-in, I say it's in fridge number 6, and they respond pretty well. They know where all the fridges are, and they know all the numbers, so it makes life a lot easier for us.
Great. That sounds like a quick improvement, like you said, made a big impact, so thank you for sharing that. Looks like Sharon might have her hand raised. Sharon, I've unmuted your microphone. Did you have something you wanted to share? Sharon, did you want to share an idea or a question? Okay, that might have been a case of the errant hand raise. Let me also just share a comment from Tamra. She said that she likes to use a U-shape setting for the classroom. She also has students submit their work in Google Docs online folder. If a student is absent, she's able to email them what they missed. So there we go. I think that those are sort of the sampling of the comments.
I did like that Shane also said, Shane, if I can just read this for you, he said, I write on everything with dry erase markers. I write on classroom windows, on plates, on shop tables, on fridge doors. The students respond well to this. I bet. That just sounds like fun. And Sharon Maletsky, thank you. We see you do not have a microphone, so we will not unmute you again. And I also wanted to share, Shane said, uploading all the documents onto something like SkyDrive or Dropbox. I know some schools use Moodle or Blackboard, and that does seem to be very effective with giving kids an opportunity to engage if they've been absent or if they need to look at something again. Thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to continue with two last ideas for building engagement into what can be long presentations or when you just have information you have to get through. Appointment buddies. This clock that's here, I certainly don't know that you need to actually hand out and distribute a graphic like this. I've seen teachers use it successfully just by saying, I want you to write down the following times. Write down 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and beside those times, would you please go around the classroom and find an appointment buddy for that time. So I would go to my 12 o'clock and I would say, Jennifer, would you like to be my appointment buddy for 12 o'clock? She would write my name down on her paper. I would write her name on my paper. And then we fill that up. Maybe there's 3 appointments for that lesson. Maybe there's 5, whatever. And then as the teacher is going through the presentation, when I see a need for a little get up and stretch, when I see I'm losing kids or they're getting antsy, I might say, okay, everybody, I'd like you to quickly find your 6 o'clock appointment, and I want you to discuss the following statement with your 6 o'clock appointment. And then you give a minute or two, and then you can do that as a share out or just keep going. So it's a way to keep kids engaged but stay on, get them moving but staying on task. Another way that can do the same kind of thing, I know that a lot of us use carousels, moving around the room and writing on different posters, or go to parts of the room that are designated agree or disagree or true, false. And a twist on that is stand by your quote, sort of like stand by your man, which our kids would have no idea why we'd be saying that. But stand by your quote is to have a few quotes ready. Maybe you have them typed out on a larger font. And when you need a quick break, you put those quotes, maybe 2 or 3, around the room. Have kids read each one carefully. They're all on the same topic. Or maybe you have 3 different famous chefs talking about one piece of equipment. I know that's a really bad example, but that's all I could think of on the spur of the moment. And then you have the kids go to the quote that they would most feel represented by. And then once they're in that group, you can do a variety of things. They can share in their group, why did you come to this? Why are you standing by this quote? Well, I feel because of this. And then they can share out and try to convince others. And you can even give a moment of time to say, would anyone like to leave their quote? Is there a different quote you now would like to stand by? So those are just a few tips on helping students stay engaged physically in the classroom, buying into the physical, feeling comfortable and ready to learn, and also cognitively and academically.
Kathy, this is Jennifer. We had an interesting comment from Shane. I think I had the same thought. He said it's interesting that you have a clock image. His first week of class, he had to review how to read an analog clock. Many of the students do not understand how to read a non-digital clock and get confused by terms like quarter of, quarter after, etc. And I was thinking the same thing, that maybe you do want to use that image, and that could be a review of how to read a clock if that's needed.
That brings back memories, Shane. I taught middle school ESL, and I found it very difficult to teach terms like quarter of, quarter after, 10 till, and then I was talking in the faculty room to other teachers who were not teaching ESL students, and they said, my kids can't read those either. So isn't that a sign of our times? Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, I'd like you to type in your tip for keeping kids engaged. Maybe it's a formative assessment tip or strategy, or maybe it's something that you do to get them up and moving, or anything that you'd like to quickly share, and we'll take a couple of seconds of quiet for you to concentrate and type in. All right, I'm going to keep going. We're not seeing too many comments there, but I do see that everybody's with us for the most part. I bet you didn't know this. We can tell when you leave your computer screen to do other things. It does look like most of us are we're on task. So we'll just keep going and let you type those. Oh, we've got a couple. Gary said student research project that turns into a hand-on project, and then a demo day. Oh, I like that twist, the demo day where students demonstrate. That would mean something different if we were construction, wouldn't it? Iron Chef competition for particular tools. Oh, I'd like to see that. I'd like to be part of it. I'd like to show you my mad cutting skills. Let kids take over the lesson or demo. Wow, I bet that does keep them engaged, Nancy. Allow students who struggle with written work to take the lead, and repeat a manual task in front of the other students. That's sort of what Nancy said, so that must really be effective. And our intuition would be to not let that student who's struggling take over, so that's really that's a good handover of control. After pre-assessment by myself, I have students assess each other with pre-identified rubrics, students teaching students. Again, goes back to kids want to be heard and involved. Thanks. Surprise competitions like mystery basket. That sounds like fun. New concepts are difficult, so go through theory and then use demo. This is where CTE just shines, because you guys really can keep kids engaged with hands-on. Cupcake wars. Wow. Culinary feud, like Family Feud, board smack games. Kids love to play games. Yes, they do. I like to hold classroom discussions more than lecturing. Good for you. Getting the students thinking about food or their experiences help them keep focused during theory class. I also integrate science into theory class to tie into what they learn in their academics. That's great. We have a chemistry teacher at our school. Well, she just left, but she would go in and do some demonstration lessons when asked with chemistry and cooking. I have students work in teams for the newsletter of the month. Hey, that's great, Tamara. That's keeping the kids working more than you. Let them write the newsletter. Market day. Go into the walk-in, make something. Higher-end student as a reward. So you just go into the walk-in and make something with what you find, Gary? I'm not sure I understand that, but if that's not it, let me know. That's interesting. Have teams work on a yearbook and a culinary club. Use chef competitions to make use of leftovers. That's cool. I have students write out recipes but change a main ingredient and then see if the class can pick up on the change. I have students who are 100% on Tool ID, go over the tools with kids who did not pass the test. Temple's 5 E's, model learning followed by immediate student make observations, what will happen next. Student Max preview on our whiteboard using KP Online program. Peer mentoring, allowing senior students to demo. Students take turn being in charge. We have our students all day and run a faculty and adult student restaurant Tuesday through Friday. So we stay very busy. So kids, I think a lot of you are doing that. Boy, I know busy is not always. Sharon, you back me up on this. I have actually helped wash dishes on some of those very busy days. Personal ethnic food demonstrations by students, love that, to showcase the recipes from their family. Teen chefs, students work on a project called Teen Chefs. They dressed up as fruits and vegetables and talked to 5th graders on the importance of nutrition. They spoke to over 600 students. Wow, talk about engaging. Reflections after completed projects. What would you do differently next time? I really like that, Patricia. That is something that's so important to us as professionals as well as to our students, that we really need to stop and reflect. We get caught up in the whirlwind and we don't reflect, and then we don't grow. Sharon said I was very good at doing dishes. Thank you, Sharon. Love using that spray hose. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Lots of good feedback. And we're going to wrap up with positive relations. I really like this quote. We all want to feel cared for and valued by the significant people in our world. Students are no different. So true. And you have these kids for such a long period of time each day that you have the real opportunity to make an impact on a student's life. Let's take a look at some activities for getting to know and building positive relations, getting to know students. I'm sure you do these. Are you doing them enough? Are you doing them frequently or intermittently? Are you helping a new student to adjust? Are you getting to know all the kids, even those that come and go? We have a lot of, some of our schools have a lot of move in, move out. Cooperative learning activities give us opportunities for kids to get to know one another and build relationships among themselves and also be learning at the same time. And if you're administering surveys, are you really reading them and referring to them? This was a quote by a teacher that I found that I'd like to read. This is about the idea of greeting kids by name at the door every day, not from across the room while you're checking your email, not while you're talking to another teacher and you're just kind of nodding as the kids walk in, but truly greeting them at the door like you have been waiting for them and can't wait to see them. This teacher said, this has been by far the best first day of school advice I've ever received. I know it may seem like a tired old saw, but this strategy is effective. I always know my kids' names by the time they leave my classroom on the first day. Are you reaching out to parents? I know time gets away from us. The day goes so fast, there's not a minute to breathe. But to build positive relations with students and lasting relations, we certainly want to build those with their parents. And there's so many ways to do that today. If you have a website page, are you keeping it updated and fresh? If you started a blog, are you keeping consistently new posts on them? One thing a teacher shared with us in another webinar that I thought was really a nice, easy idea. She said that when a student is doing something great or has achieved something great, she tells the kid, pull out your cell phone, and yes, I know this doesn't work with every kid and in every school, but pull out your cell phone and together they take a selfie, the teacher with the student, or the teacher, student, and the product of whatever that student is proud of. And then the teacher says, go ahead, text that to your mom or dad or to someone important, and the teacher says something. So tell your mom, I said, this is Mrs. Smith, and I said this was the best souffle I've seen this year. I like that idea. Just a quick text. Wouldn't you be excited if you received that from your own child's teacher? And some of you already said this in some engagement, but are you holding some sort of meeting consistently where it's very informal, where you're sitting in a circle. I liked the U shape that someone mentioned before, where kids have an opportunity, not rushed, nothing else going on, to just sit and talk about how are things functioning in the classroom, do we need to change anything, or even just, what are you doing, what would you like for Thanksgiving, or what would your favorite food be for Thanksgiving, to get the conversation started, just to take a few minutes out of this rushed world we live in and touch base. And again, research shows through the organization, what is it called? Restorative Practices, that these kind of meetings, when they're done consistently, when there is an issue in the classroom, something got stolen out of a locker or someone got in a fight, having this in place makes overcoming disturbances and poor behavior a lot easier when the kids already have the practice of talking together. Here's a high school guidance counselor who keeps a college acceptance brag board. But think about what you could do with certificates earned, or teacher-created awards, or Skills USA awards. And I know there are some HIPAA and FERPA laws, I guess it would be FERPA, that we have to be careful with, as far as, you have to be careful you're not posting something that you're not allowed to post. But do you have a place where you can brag about your students? This was from a teacher in Reading-Muhlenberg who shared some of the brag boards that he creates. Every student creates one of these. Here's another one. It's simple. You might look at this and think, okay, really, kids wouldn't like this after 3rd grade, but they do. They want to be part of a team. They want to be heard. They want to be recognized by you and their classmates. 2 last thoughts about building positive relations: to build trust with students so that they know they can trust one another and you trust them to work without you, because in a CTE classroom, students must learn to work independently, and you as the teacher must learn to put routines in place that give you the sanity of being able to work without always being interrupted. So, for example, in every classroom, it's really starting when I taught kindergarten, in every classroom I have always hung a sign when I was the teacher that said, "Ask 3 before me." And I don't just post that one day, I post it, but I talk about it. And for about a week or 2, I remind people, I'm now going to go work with a small group. Remember, you are to ask 3 of your peers before you interrupt and ask me. Unless, now when I was teaching elementary school, I included urine in this, but I would say, unless there is blood, urine, or vomit, do not interrupt me when I am working with a small group, unless you have asked 3 before me and it is very urgent that you talk to me. Another thing I put into place was on my board was always a blank numbered list, so that when I went off to work with a small group or to go around and do one-on-one work, if you need to talk to me and you've asked 3 before me and you cannot find your answer, but it's really not that critical that you interrupt me, please make an appointment with me by putting your name on the board. And then as the teacher, I have to very consistently refer to that board and go right to those people first to demonstrate that I'm being consistent with that procedure. So let's take one last opportunity for you to share. Is there anything, I'm just looking through some comments. Yep. Jennifer, I believe you've been looking through them.
I have. We've had several great ideas shared, several participants who send notes home, who send photos home. Michael Bell had a very creative idea. He said something that he's planning to do is to send home fortune cookies that the students will make during class, but he will put notes inside of them, and instead of a fortune, it will give feedback on their children, positive and negative. So very creative. Wow. Idea he has there. Let's see. Had an example of a team building exercise. Students sit back to back. One student has a picture and has to describe the picture to the other. It's a good listening skill. And then also heard about, actually this is from Sharon, her students did a community service project to show how they can connect their profession with people in need. She said they made an extra effort to do a good job. Some great examples.
Great. Thank you. And you know, Gary said something, two very simple words, and they're so powerful. Be present. Be present. That's a little parenting tip for us all too. I fear I'm not always present for my kids, but yes, you need to be there, be in the moment. It's hard to do that all the time. All right, so one last screen from Tracy, our guest speaker who was not with us today. I wanted to include this because I thought it was a nice way to wrap up. Why do we do all this? Why don't we just come in and do what we're paid to do, or what people think we're paid to do? Why don't we come in and just open up their little heads and pour in the information that we want them to know? Why do we spend so much time and our own money and our resources and our energy laboring over and worrying about these kids? It's because we're more than teachers. We wear a lot of different hats, a lot that the public realize and a lot that the public don't. And you need to pat yourself on the back, because when you take the time to work on your classroom environment so that it's engaging, so that it's physically attractive, so that it's academically rigorous, and so that it is also giving students opportunity to participate and not just sit and be passive, you are really supporting learning. I would like to, I know you've been asking questions, so I would like to now switch back to Jennifer's screen. So Jennifer, I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Okay. You know what? I can just grab the control back. Kathy, could you read? While I'm doing that, there's a couple additional ideas that have come in that I think are really worth sharing. Do you mind reading those?
Sure.
From Sharon, Dennis, and some others.
Yeah, I have numerous students involved in scouting. As an Eagle Scout, I can connect with them on a scouting level. We talk about their merit badges, rank advancement, campouts. Oh yeah, when you can connect with kids like that, so nice. Show genuine interest and listen to students. More simple advice that we just sometimes need to hear. Give them a pat on the back. Each day, one sous chef is selected to work with the chef instructor to run the week's tasks. Love that. I have a reward box filled with culinary tools. The student that stays on task or goes that extra mile gets to rummage through the reward box and receive an award. I like that. I'd love to see your box. One student writes a recipe for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Other student has to make it. I've seen Sharon, I've seen you do this. It's fabulous. This sounds really simple, but so Sharon has the kids write a recipe, write the steps for making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then the other student has to follow those directions just as it is written. And they take so many steps for granted, like open the jar. Students love it. It's a lesson on following directions. And again, Sharon has a lot of kids who are ESL or second language learners, and so that's another tool for helping build language skills. 2 years ago, we started to have a school-wide team building activity during the first 2 weeks. This year, students from all the shops were matched with students from other shops, and they built a bottle rocket from given materials. Wow, that's a great team building. Awards for various categories. Students got to know each other and made to feel like a large common group. Great. Stay positive, care, share your passion. It becomes contagious. Yes, it does. Okay, I've got to read my last quote. Even though you might have read it on your own, I'm still going to read it aloud. I've been using this quote for over 20 years, and I think it really sums up the power we have as teachers. I've come to a frightening conclusion. I am the decisive element in the classroom. It's my personal approach that creates the climate. It's my daily mood that makes the weather. as a teacher, I possess a tremendous power to make a child's life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis will be escalated or de-escalated, and a child humanized or dehumanized. And my parting thought with this is, I know how hard you work. I am from a family of teachers, and I've been in education a long time. I know how hard you work. I also know we are human, and sometimes we don't mean to, but we humiliate or we dehumanize. And we want to just remind ourselves every now and then, and today we were focusing on the environment that we offer to students, but reminding ourselves how we can create that climate that makes learning possible through good relations. I also like to add this thought, this quote hits me also as a parent. My kids are older now, but if you've ever had children in elementary school or middle school or even high school, when they're unhappy in school, when they're with a teacher that is dehumanizing them or humiliating them, it can really impact the whole family in a very negative way. So we are working with someone else's child, and we have to always be aware of that. I'd like to thank you very much for your attention. I realize not all of this was new, but hopefully you picked up an idea or two to take away with you. We didn't get a whole lot of responses about which textbooks you're using, so for the person that requested that information, I will include the textbooks that were mentioned in the follow-up email that I will send to you.
With that question, Kathy, I was thinking that maybe we could make that a discussion thread on the SAS community site, and folks can type in their thoughts or their about their experience with various textbooks on there as well.
Good idea. If you haven't yet joined SAS, please go to www.pdesas.org, and Jennifer gave you some information on how to do that at the kickoff, and also sent emails out, but if you need help, just contact one of us.
Okay. Anything else, Kathy, or shall I do the wrap-up?
Go ahead and do the wrap-up, Jennifer. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, and Kathy, you did an excellent job, and we definitely appreciate the participation of all of our PLC members as well. I think almost everybody had something to share or ask or contribute, so that's fantastic. That really makes this a rich experience and very practical and relevant. So we appreciate everyone's attention and contributions today. Just a couple notes on some follow-up items. We will be sending out an email to you in the next day or so, and attached to that email will be a PowerPoint presentation, the slides that you've seen today, so all the information that we've shared with you. We will also include the PLC yearbook for this group, and just a refresher that the yearbook is essentially a directory of members, and we'll be including email addresses, pictures, other information that you've shared with us on that. If you are not in the yearbook and you would like to be, send us an email. Similarly, if there's something in the yearbook that's not correct and needs to be corrected, we're happy to make that change. We'll be publishing an update on that probably in conjunction with our second round of webinars. So there's still time to add information or make changes. We will also be posting these materials on the SAS community. And I forgot. The other thing that will be attached to your email is a self-assessment tool that Kathy has developed in conjunction with some of the ideas that have been shared today. So this is something that is not, you don't need to send it back to us. It's purely a tool for you to use to evaluate any areas where you might want to seek additional support or information, be that from other PLC members or someone in your center, but just a sort of a checklist for you to think about where are the areas that you're the strongest and maybe need some additional support in this topic area. And then finally, we ask you to register for our next webinar, which will take place in January. And I don't have the date handy. Kathy, do you happen to have the schedule in front of you?
I do. Let's see. Your group is meeting next on January 21st. That's a Tuesday, and you will be meeting in the morning at 9:30. And one person already said that she's not able to attend the next one. How will she receive that information? We are trying to get the recorded webinars available. We'll have information as that becomes available.
Right. So if you are on our session today and you've participated in today's session, you're on our roster, and you'll continue to receive emails and updates. And as Kathy mentioned, we are recording the sessions and are trying to figure out the best way to make those available to everyone. So if there is a time where you're not able to participate live, or if you did participate and you want to just go back and listen in to something again, that's something we are trying to make available to you. So again, the date for the next webinar is January 21st at 9:30 a.m. And we'll be sending out reminders for that and also a newsletter as we get closer to the date.
Yeah, and I do want to say this is a larger group, so I know you're busy, but if you do have a chance, touch base on the SAS, on your community on SAS every now and then, because it does seem like this is a group that would like to share with each other. So there might be a forum that you could gain some information from or want to add to.
Right. And also the directory is a great way to keep in touch with each other as well. Patricia typed in a comment that she did not receive a link to the PLC survey. I apologize for that, Patricia. We have closed out that survey, so unfortunately at this point there's not an active link for completing that. But for many of you who did get a chance to do that, we appreciate your feedback, and we're taking that into consideration as we are developing the content for the upcoming sessions. So, are there any?
And how about
go ahead.
Jennifer? Why don't we keep the this open for another couple of minutes as people are logging off? If you do want to type in something for us to share with Dr. Burkett that you would like to see at the PAC Tech Conference, even if you can't go to the conference, what's going on in your field that you would like us to see, if she could get a speaker or a session regarding that. So you can just type that in.
Great. And we had a question. Sure. That's okay. We had a question about is there a special link for our group on SAS? There is not a link per se, but once you have your SAS account created, you can do a search for the Culinary, the BCTE Culinary PLC community, and it should pop up there. There's instructions on how to register and how to access that in our newsletter that was sent out last month, and there will also be some in the newsletter that's sent out coming up in a few days.
And if you have trouble with that, just contact one of us and we'll walk you through it. We can get on the phone and walk you through it. For those of you who are maybe haven't done that yet, I have noticed that SAS seems to be asking people to update their profiles. So if you log on and you see a screen that looks different than what we told you to expect, you may just need to update your profile.
Okay. Well, if anyone has additional questions or comments, please feel free to continue typing those in. And if not, we, again, appreciate everyone's attendance today. Hope that you've heard some good ideas and some new suggestions that you'll be able to take and put to use. And we'll look forward to meeting with you again in January. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Jennifer, I'm just going to